A suicide bomber has detonated explosives at the office of the Electoral Commission in the Afghan capital, Kabul. People had gathered there to protest the disqualification of multiple candidates running in parliamentary elections. Journalist Sultan Faizi reports from Kabul.
Some of the supporters of those candidates who were disqualified to run for the parliamentarian elections, they were gathering nearby the Independent Election Commission headquarters. A suicide bomber, according to police, tried to approach the gathering, but detonated his explosive ahead of approaching the gathering and killed himself and one other from the civilians who were nearby, also killed, and two others wounded. But the protests against the IEC or Independent Electoral Commission or the presidential palace actually has been taking place since a week almost. Yesterday we had another protest and a gathering that some MPs who were accused of land grabbing and having irresponsible armed men protested the same way, and they were accused the government of manipulating the process, and they were angry, and actually this process has been continuing. Today we had another one in a different place, so we are expecting that it will actually take place more of these kind of events, because it's the first in the Afghan election history.
Meanwhile, the city of Ghazni, which is located around 150 kilometres southwest of the capital, is facing some of the fiercest clashes between Taliban and Afghan forces. Official reports say hundreds have been killed on both sides. Sultan Faizi again has more details on the newest Taliban threat facing the Afghan government.
The Minister of Interior said that confirmed the death of 70 security forces in battlefield with the Taliban in Ghazni. That has been taking place since 4 days. But also I have heard from some local sources in Ghazni that Taliban actually are now withdrawing from those locations that have been committing attacks against various government installations since 4 days. The situation is actually really harsh, and the hospital is full of dead bodies and wounded. I have seen fresh footage from Ghazni that is telling lots of stories inside the city. People are really scared, and the highways have been blocked since 4 days. The communication has been down, and people cannot communicate with their relatives, or we even cannot talk to the more local officials or residents in Ghazni. It has been a very harsh time for Ghazni. It has been like a ghost city, but the government is now saying that they are trying to expel the Taliban, and they are trying to secure the city. But we will see what will happen next.
Middle East expert Ali Risk says America's war on terror in Afghanistan has not only failed, but has actually boosted extremism.
So-called war on terror, which was launched after the September 11 attacks, it shows us that this war has turned out to be an utter failure. Taliban now is in a stronger position than it ever was, ever since it was ousted from power. I don't think the US can do anything. If it continues with its own focus just on military attacks, militarily speaking, it hasn't succeeded. So I don't think there is much that the US can do in that regard. I think it's proof that the US has been pursuing a wrong strategy in defeating terrorism. On the contrary, I think that the US involvement up until now and the focus on military force in the region has led to the growth of terrorism instead of leading to the curtailment or to the curbing of terrorism. I think that is clear from what we see in Afghanistan.